Well, I say every day it's a getting closer to taking a bath with my fucking toaster.
Greetings, salutations, and welcome to the 59th episode of Screaming into the Void, where we talk about whatever the hell we feel like. I'm stumbling over my words today. We are running on a skeleton crew today. A lot of stuff going on. Welcome, Ryan, my co-host for today.
What's up, man? Did some stuff last night on Friday night's Royal Rumble. Got into the weeds a little bit, and we'll see what kind of shit we can stir up today.
Yeah. Some of you may have noticed that I have updated the intro for this. I am trying my hand at editing, so I figured I'd play around with that a little bit. Hope you like it. If you have any comments, criticisms, or whatever after the show, please leave them in the comment section, because actually I need you guys to start leaving comments at some point. it helps with the algorithm.
It does.
So let me know in the comments after the show is over what you thought of it, and all that. It's subject to change. It's like there's already one thing in it that I fucked up that I need to fix. So and also I'm not an editor. I was teaching myself how to do this yesterday for about 3 hours. So
and despite what the rumors say, he's also not gay.
That had nothing to do with anything I just said.
I know, but it's just the way you were explaining it sounded like you're like defending yourself, and it just
that's not how I meant it to come off. I just I'd like to know what you guys think. And all that. Let's say hello to the chat. Larry ain't gonna like that. Hello, Richard. Good to see you, buddy. Zillage, always a pleasure, man. Carrie is a little bit early, but that's unusual. But we're happy to have you here.
He's just early, but still gay.
Yeah,
it's pretty funny.
Z-Past, hello. Been a minute since we talked, man. How you doing? Glad to see you here. Right, starting off strong. Yeah. If you think this is bad, come by the Star Trek show tomorrow.
Oh God,
it gets much worse.
Yeah, because there's a bunch of us doing it.
Yeah,
that sounds really gay, by the way.
So speaking of really gay, I don't see him in chat right now, so it's probably safe to show this to y'all guys. Our moderator and resident demon memer sent me a. Y'all remember that meme of Shadow getting fucked in the ass sideways with a cactus?
Wow.
So she sent me an animated, updated version of that with something clipped from a recent stream on your channel, Ryan.
Oh no, what is it?
I'm just too freaking tired to fight it. Might as well just go along.
Wow.
It's so much worse.
Yeah, that's definitely worse. Holy criminy.
Oh, it's so much worse. She's very proud of that, by the way. It's her first animation.
Yeah, I don't blame her.
That's right. It is. It's terrible. And I promised the kid I would not be using that often, just because it is super fucked up, and he was, I think, genuinely upset about it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Has he seen it?
Oh, yeah, he saw it when I debuted it last night on Abyssal Musings.
Oh shit! I was I didn't get a chance to make the show. Oh geez.
Yeah, it was a whole thing. Anyway, he lost his temper and he left the chat for a while, and then he calmed down and he came back.
Whoa, really?
Yeah.
Damn.
So it's fine. We're good. We're good. And like I said, I promised him I wouldn't be using that too often. I didn't say I would never do it again, but it won't be too often. I just wanted you all to, see it now that it's brand new. Because I'm a dick. So,
Wow.
yeah. Also, if you guys have not checked out Ryan's channel, Legion Talk, he has like 3 others, but he doesn't do fuck all with them. So go to Legion Talk. And he has he does do other stuff with them. It's just, when he
Very
has
good.
time for it. Royal Rumble was a blast last night.
It was a lot of fun, yeah.
It was a good show. I mean, it got a little bit intense at a certain point, and things got a little heated, but
I think just clash of personalities, different views, stuff like that. It's
Sure.
gonna happen every once in a while.
sure. But it was still, I mean, overall, it was a good show. It was a lot of fun to be part of, and I'm glad I was able to make it for the whole thing. I mean, the reason I was able to make it for the whole thing, I'm not super happy about, but
Slow night at work.
no, I had to take a night off, or I take a day off at work because I woke up with the shits.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. And it was like that for a few hours. So I called my boss. I was like, I ain't coming in. So
It's like, what the fuck's wrong with you?
yeah, he's like,
Shit in my pants.
I was like, yeah, I can send you pictures if you want, but you ain't gonna like it.
It's always one of those things. Like if I would go to work and I didn't feel good, and I told my supervisor about it, they're like, "Well, we're short staffed and stuff," and it's like, "Oh, going okay, that's fine." I'd be like, "But if I shit my pants, I'm going home," and they're like, "Okay, well, maybe you should go home." I'm like, well, I told you.
See, I have a very good supervisor. I mean, aside from the fact that like he's competent, which is also a huge plus, and he is. But he's also a family man. So people who have kids, he's generally pretty understanding about stuff like that. We've got somebody else who works with us who has a very, very young kid.
Yeah,
When shit happens, right? There's always something going on with young kids. So, if you're not feeling well, he doesn't want you coming to work. He wants you at your best.
it was, and that sounds like a good supervisor because my supervisors were fucking the opposite. They were they were very like, oh, you're shortchanging everybody. We're gonna have to like work people overtime now, and it's like they would be very, very grumpy.
Right.
And it's just not the most conducive environment to work in. You're
Yeah.
just like, because it's like, yeah, you don't want to work hard for those kind of people when they do shit like that.
Yeah, it's it is what it is. Zillage, no, I'm pretty sure. You know how I'm always talking about that cloned chicken? As it turns out, sometimes I get a hankering for chicken, and that's all that I have available. I can't process it, and it puts me in a bind for like a day or so afterwards. Like
Fuck,
it's like
man.
getting food poisoning because I can't digest it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, yeah. So one of the perks of getting old, by the way, things
You're
stop
like, I
working
was
properly.
shitting my pants.
Yeah. So, but now the synthetic chicken and stuff is really
Ugh.
don't need it if you've got any other choice. It's not good for you.
How do you
So-
know if it's synthetic chicken? I don't think they're marketing it that way, are they?
No, they're of course they're not marketing that way. They you can tell, man. There's like if it's take like a chicken breast, right? It, like a boneless chicken breast you would find on a sandwich. Like go to McDonald's, for example, right? And it's got
Yeah.
that like hard fucking brick of gristle right in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not natural.
Ugh.
If it's got kind of like a rubbery, almost plasticky texture to it, it's probably synthetic. And by synthetic, I mean like cloned.
Yeah, no, I know. Shit, I don't know. I guess I'm gonna have to start fucking paying attention more because I eat a lot of chicken, man.
Yeah, Suka, I'm talking about McDonald's. Also, I noticed you changed your name back to Super Suka. That's probably for the best. So Suka was in our chat last night, and he had changed his name to something else. And because he had changed his name to this other thing, unless you had it set to live chat instead of top chat, you wouldn't see anything he posted because he wasn't posting crazy shit. But the name, the algorithm took an issue with because it was a Russian swear word.
Really?
Yeah, one of the more common and the closest translations from it is sukabliat, but it was Bitch whore.
Hmm.
It means other things too. It's used as an expletive as well, but yeah, it's also a derogatory term.
Fuck, I didn't know that.
He says he's trying to get on Shadowban. Yeah. Well, names like that ain't helping.
No.
It's funny. I laughed. Sometimes you'll see, like, if you go into Call of Duty lobbies and shit like that, sometimes non-Russian players will say that at Russian players to piss them off.
I didn't know that. I
Yeah.
had no idea.
So if you ever hear somebody like say Suka Bliat, it's not a nice thing.
Well, because last night on Friday Night's Royal Rumble, I noticed that Suka had become Super Suka.
Yeah.
So,
Yes, Bliat basically means fuck or shit. But in conjunction with Suka, which means bitch, it becomes like bitch whore. Or you fucking whore. Or I mean, it kind of depends on context, but it's never a nice thing. So howdy Clue, good to see you, buddy. Welcome to the show. So today, like, obviously you guys are probably aware of what's been going on in the world in terms of announcements from Washington, hearings and such, things being said that the government has denied since 1947.
mm-hmm. The truth is out there.
All of a sudden, they're letting it all hang out.
Literally.
Why is that?
To distract from the fact that we have a house plant running this country, and the administration that is surrounding said house plant is basically full of a bunch of socialists.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like we said a couple weeks ago, with the whole cocaine debacle, only people who are getting past White House security without getting checked are family.
Yeah.
It's not that fucking hard to figure out who it is.
No.
And also, he's probably getting his coke from the Secret Service.
And also on top of that, you could actually see when they were on one of the White House balconies, he steps behind his own mother and he goes like that, and then he steps back, and like she's very aware of that he just did that, and it's like, dude just took a fucking bump.
Yep. Coke-aliens. We can call them coke-aliens.
Coke-aliens.
Yeah, I would probably watch Cocaine Aliens. That would be fun, I think. So I've got a couple of other things we're going to go over as well today, but we are going to start with this little snippet. And by the way, I pulled all this shit off Twitter, so if it starts fucking malfunctioning, and it's like, it is what it is.
Pulled it off X,
right.
huh?
No, I'm not calling it that till it divorces me. Fuck them.
Divorces me.
Yeah. So, all right. So this is from one of the recent hearings involving, UFO stuff.
Intelligent extraterrestrials.
Something I can't discuss in public setting.
Okay, I can't ask when you think this occurred. If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, Biologics came with some of these recoveries. Yeah.
He didn't say they had pilots, though.
True.
He just said there was biological. That could have been fucking bacteria.
Mm-hmm. That could have been space sludge, sloshed all over the seats because they crashed and they turned into, goo.
Mm-hmm.
Space puree. I mean,
yeah. Of course, it could have been pilots. I don't know. We don't know. That's the thing. It's like they're telling us that they have stuff, but they're not telling us what that stuff is.
Yes.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked.
For the record, dogs are not human.
It's very true.
Just saying. Like, this whole world's full of life that's not human. That doesn't necessarily mean anything either.
That are currently still on the program.
And was this documentary evidence, this video, photos, eyewitness? Like, how would that be determined?
The specific documentation I would have to talk to Skiff about.
Gotcha. Okay. So, and you may or may not be able to answer my last question, and maybe we get into a skiff at the next hearing that we have, but who in the government, either what agency, sub-agency, what contractors, who should be called into the next hearing about UAPs, either in a public setting or even in a private setting? And you probably can't name names, but what agencies or organizations, contractors, et cetera, do we need to call in to get these questions answered, whether it's about funding, what programs are happening, and what's out there?
I can give you a specific cooperative and hostile witness list of specific individuals that were in those.
And how soon can we get that list?
I'm happy to provide that to you after the hearing.
Super, thank you. And I yield.
Again, why have a public hearing if you're not going to provide that information publicly?
I would say smokescreen.
Yeah. So either they've got fuck all, or they only drag this out, which is my opinion, to distract from all of the other horrible shit going on, like the fact that we just sent over $300 billion of weaponry to Taiwan.
Did we really?
Yes.
Well, I like
It was
Taiwan.
more than that. I don't remember the exact number, but yeah.
I like Taiwan more than I like Ukraine. So at least Taiwan actually contributes something to the global stage.
Yeah, Taiwan has manufacturing capabilities that are of use.
Yeah, especially in semiconductors, which
Yeah.
literally power everything around us.
Yes, indeed. So, but that's like that just happened real recently too, but nobody's talking about that. They're talking about aliens and talking about government cover-ups. Like, oh my gosh, the government covered something up. Well, duh. You know, the government's covering up shit all the damn time. You know,
Yeah,
we
it's a
still
day that
don't
ends
know
in
who
Y.
really killed JFK, for example.
Yeah,
You know,
it's
that stuff is still classified for some fucking reason.
that's because the government did it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Nope.
Lot-
We
lot-
don't have
lot
the
of-
money to send either.
A lot of Kennedys get assassinated.
Most of them, except Teddy, who I suspect was behind a few of them, actually.
Good possibility.
No, I think he was. No, I think he was definitely behind Roberts, RFK Sr.'s death, and I think that he probably was behind JFK Jr.'s death. You know, although I think he did that one in conjunction with the Hilleries because, you know, he was up for the same Senate seat she was at the time.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
And then he mysteriously dies in a plane crash in a vehicle that he'd taken up hundreds of times.
Oops.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't believe in conspiracy theories, to be honest, because most of the time what are called conspiracy theories, turn out to be quite credible later on down the line.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well,
not to
you know,
mention
I mean,
that this. What's up?
Go ahead. But they
I
weren't
was
even
just
that
gonna say,
subtle
not to
about it.
mention that the CIA is the one who invented the term conspiracy theory.
Mm-hmm. Zillage, I did. I think I might have reposted that actually on the community tab. Yeah, I did see that because he's not wrong. It's like Congress will just send him all our tax money. Yeah.
I'm so tired of them sending our money other places. I can't tell you how much it's so obnoxious.
Yeah, it is. And there's a lot of dumb shit going on in the world. Speaking of dumb shit, I mean, all right, so getting into this aliens thing, we've discussed this on the show a little bit. I do believe that there's life out there, in the universe. I think the likelihood of it finding its way here is probably pretty fucking astronomically low. Possible, sure, but not likely. But I do believe that it exists out there in the universe. I mean, to take almost a theological standpoint on it, why would a creator stop creating?
I mean,
like, why would he
Good
be one
point.
and done? All that wasted space for nothing.
Yeah, well, that's kind of where I was going to go with it. I was going to go the whole Jodie Foster contact route. It'd sure be an awful waste of space. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't believe that there can't be something else out there.
Right. You know, I mean, just statistically speaking, it's almost a certainty.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and all that. But now, as far as them coming here and like sticking their fingers up yokels' butts and crashing in the deserts, that kind of thing, I find that probably a lot less likely. So the government having like alien biomes on ice for the last how long ago was 1947? It was like 75 years, give or take. I'm
Mhm.
probably off there. Might be 85. It's still like, I don't know. I don't know that I believe them. I believe that they probably got something, but I also know that scientists were experimenting with like genome shit even before then.
Well,
you know?
yeah.
So it's possible that they grew something. I don't know. Maybe they found something from, like you saw The Thing, right?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe they found something in the ice that was there for like 300 fucking million years or something, and they cloned something out of that. I don't know. Maybe it's something that was not actually extraterrestrial, just died out. Who knows? I think they probably got something. I don't know necessarily that it was like Flight of the Navigator, though.
Well,
As
there's
cool
still
as that would be.
there's still so much that we don't know about this planet. That's it's easy to think that that we could find something that just doesn't make sense to us. You know, shit. People used to think that dinosaurs were improbable and stuff like that. Giant lizards, and then of course we start digging up all their bones and crap.
Mhm. Yeah. So, hey, Squatch, good to see you, buddy. Yeah, so I just don't know. I don't know if they're bullshitting us with this. I do know that the timing is specific and suspicious, but as far as like until they like trot out basically a fucking
An
little
alien.
green man corpse, I'm not necessarily going to buy that that's what they in fact have.
You're like, I'm not buying what you're selling.
Pretty much, yeah. If you're talking about Titan, well, a number of the moons have ice on them. Ice
Yes.
is actually a pretty common thing in the solar system. Most of the asteroid belt has a huge chunks of ice in it too. A
Well,
lot more than we
Pluto's
find
made
on
of
our own
all
planet.
ice.
Well, it's a rock, but yeah, it's got
Mhm.
it's ice. It's covered in ice because it's so fucking far away from the sun. But so yeah, Titan's got other things going on for it though, like an actual atmosphere. Although it's not our kind of atmosphere, it does have a thick enough atmosphere.
Yeah, I mean that would be one place that that we've talked about could be one day somewhere where we could habitate and and so there are places in the solar system that have the probability of sustaining not maybe without assistance, but you know obviously look at Mars. That's probably going to be the closest to Earth's what Earth has going on, and there's been proven that there has been life on Mars. And,
Mars is probably the least hazardous planet
Yes.
to us. That doesn't necessarily mean it's hospitable or survivable, but it's not worse than everything else.
No. I mean,
know.
it's Mars is the most likely to be terraformed.
Yeah. But like I know people talk about terraforming Mars and they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna get this done. I was like, I don't think you understand how long that takes.
Oh, long ass
You
time.
know, like you're talking a couple of centuries minimum to make that like in any way hospitable to carbon-based Earth life. And even then, it's still going to be very different. People who grew up there are going to change. There's a
Mhm.
different gravitation. There's a different gravity there. There's the atmosphere is quite a bit thinner. Even if we were to like add to that and whatnot, people would be living in domes most of their life, breathing recycled air. Because they wouldn't have any other choice.
Nope.
And eventually they did manage to convert it to a more oxygen-rich, nitrogen-rich environment, it still doesn't have like the same kind of like magnetosphere and ionosphere that keeps that shit trapped. So you still end up losing a ton of that shit because the atmosphere is very, very thin there.
Mhm.
And honestly, people who grew up there would probably adapt to that over time, but it's still, you're talking like hundreds of maybe thousands of years before it's a viable colony. Um, then you got
No,
places.
the way to go about it would have to be biosphere domes and stuff like that. And even on top of that, the soil itself is not going to mimic, what we have here on Earth. It's going to be made up of different minerals, some richer, than what we have. And it could not, our soil here is, there are even places on this planet that are inhospitable for, growing,
Mhm.
crops and stuff like that. You're not going to go out to the middle of the Gobi Desert and expect to start a farm. It's just
Well,
not going to happen.
that's the thing, Ryan. The circle of life is not just a song in the Lion King. It's a very real thing. The only way that soil becomes nutritious enough to sustain plant life is if animal life dies there
Hmm.
and is
Yeah.
absorbed into it, and the nutrients become something that can enrich, any plant life. As far as we can tell, there's nothing like that on Mars. Probably all of that soil that they got out there is dead.
Oh
You
yeah.
know,
I mean,
most likely, it just doesn't. Unless there was like a mass cataclysm and like billions of life forms died, and then it still got those like nutrients just sitting there, which I doubt. Um, the odds of being able to just grow stuff there without like seriously treating it or introducing nutrients to it,
Mhm.
at the very least, because plants just don't grow in just any dirt.
No, they
There's got to be
don't.
something to feed on. It's not the dirt themselves that sustains them. You know,
It's the mineral nutrients inside the dirt itself. I mean, it's no different than what a human being needs.
Mhm.
We eat dead animals ourselves. And we process that into fuel, into energy to sustain us, and same thing with plant life. So yeah,
Yeah. Hey,
it's
Dempsey, good to see you.
it'll start out as like a colony, and then it'll turn into probably like a biosphere. But before we could ever really terraform the whole entire planet, you and I will be long dead, and
Yeah,
so will Elon Musk.
you're still talking like decades down the line before they even have a suitable outpost set up there.
Yes.
I mean, it takes, if I understand the math correctly, and I'm not saying I do, I'm not a fucking rocket scientist, but if I understand the math correctly, assuming they don't miss, because it is like one of those things, if you get the trajectory off even by a little bit, you're not going to fucking miss it, because Mars doesn't stop moving, we don't stop moving.
Nope.
But even if they made it out there, it's still like at top speed that we're capable of now, that's still like a 2-year journey there. Right. And that's assuming that they're taking everything with them to survive, because it's a one-way trip. In order to have enough fuel for the return trip, they'd never get off the ground here. It'd be too heavy. It's conceivable that we could build something at like the IFF, or the ISS, sorry, the International Space Station, like in orbit, that would be capable of going back and forth and just like ship up what fuel we need to the ISS and then have it transferred to that. That's conceivable that we could do something like that, but that's not the plan. The plan is to launch from Earth and then go straight there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not a thing that we're currently capable of, and the people who are going on that trip know that it's a one-way trip. They're never coming back.
No, that's why they're for the longest time there were what NASA was like looking for volunteers and stuff like that to apply to be some of the first people to be for the first expedition to Mars, because and they told they literally said if you leave, you're not coming back.
Yeah.
And that's a big investment.
Well, NASA wasn't the only ones to start doing this, and obviously SpaceX is working on this themselves. But there were a number of other programs, civilian programs mostly, that were gearing up to be the first to colonize Mars. There's an outfit in I want to say Switzerland. I might be wrong about the country. Called Mars One, that started recruiting potential astronauts. Almost 10 years ago for a 10-year training program. One of them was recruited from Colorado, Boulder, I think.
Oh God, you're taking a goddamn hippie up there.
Well, I saw her. You know, they make all of their test scores and shit public, right? She's pretty smart, like rocket scientist smart. You know, that kind of thing. And she was. I don't know. It was a pretty exciting prospect. And at the time, they started advertising this right around the time that I met my ex-wife and got involved in that. And honestly, if I had not become involved with family life, I would have been rejected out of hand because I'm no way fit for that sort of thing. But I would have applied for a one-way trip to Mars. Absolutely. Because I still believe that even with all of the downsides and all of the potential pitfalls, it's the single greatest endeavor in human history. And I would be honored to be a part of it, honestly. You know, but now I've
you're
got
not
shit
wrong.
that I can't leave behind. So, you
Yeah.
know. So, because even if it fails, it's humanity striving for something that doesn't suck for once. You know, it's striving towards a goal to expand, to explore, to, you know, I mean, we're not killing each other, we're not stealing tax money from each other and sending it to fund some fucking asshole on the other side of the planet. You know, we're not you know, it's not about human trafficking. It's not about fucking, you know, people getting shot every day in the streets of Chicago. You know, all the bad shit that we see day to day, every day. This is above that. It's better than that. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, that's a once in a lifetime opportunity, and it's
We did it together too. We got the scented candles.
yeah, yeah, we did. Fucking R2. Yeah, I mean, that would be shit. You know, talk about one. You know, one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. I mean, that would be the biggest leap mankind has ever taken.
Mhm.
Probably would be as significant as the man discovering how to use fire. I mean, because once we learned how to use fire, everything was different.
Yeah. Suka, yes. But I'm gonna die here too, sometime. You know, and of all the ways to go, exploring something new on behalf of my entire species versus, say, getting hit by a bus. If you could choose, which way would you go?
Or
Yeah.
or shot by some asshole who doesn't like your politics or something.
Yeah, I mean, just among the many possible ways, you know, that bad things can happen. And Carrie says that Mars is a waste of time and resources, but it's fun to pretend. I disagree.
I do disagree too.
I don't think it is a waste of time and resources. I think that it gives us as a people something to strive for. It gives us a purpose beyond our petty bullshit, which is all we're wasting time and resources on that anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So, you know, as far as that goes, and I mean, there's so much that we waste time and resources on, and honestly, if my little rant from last week is at all truthful, you know, like if it reflects any kind of reality, like everything we do is a waste of time and resources, including breathing. You know, so why not waste it doing something that you know, is awesome, like going to Mars?
Well, not even just that. It advances the whole the whole human race.
Mhm.
Because quite frankly, I'm not going to be one to scream global warming or anything like that, but I will admit that we're not as friendly to this planet as we should be.
Yeah, you know, I don't think that we have anywhere near the impact that the people in the media and, you know, the WEF and
Yeah,
fucking
God no.
Greta fucking Thunberg. You know, I don't believe that they're in any way being truthful about it. I think they know that we don't have that kind of impact. I think they're fucking lying.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
you know, it's like we just don't. It's like the sheer height of hubris. This is a living planet. It is greater than we are.
Yes.
Period.
And it'll be around a lot longer than we fucking will.
Yeah. So,
And when it gets tired of us, it will eliminate us.
would you go insane sitting in a ship for 2 years? Maybe. But it'd be worth it. I think. Like
Well, yeah, I mean, because what a radio transmission or something like that from Mars takes like what 4 months, something wild like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I don't think have we learned to transmit via light waves yet, or are we still using radio?
I think the most advanced thing we have is like an infrared repeater. So I think that's about as sophisticated. I don't know if we're using that long range either. I don't know. But I would say probably the Mars rover would be the most was the last most advanced thing that we probably set up there. That last rover
Mhm.
we did.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of communication system it had on it, but obviously we took many pictures of the surface.
Yeah, I think probably that was using radio. Well, the only reason that it would apply, Carrie, is because light travels faster than radio.
Mhm.
That's it.
Yeah.
It would just shorten the lag time. Although by how much I don't know, and how much would be lost is another good question, because obviously light. If you shoot out a beam of light, if you like take a flashlight, even a laser pointer, right? It gets wider at the one end than it does where at its beginning point. Light doesn't stay compact, doesn't stay in that thin line. It spreads out. So yeah, I think that'd be a tricky thing to work at anyway, but it's an interesting idea.
Oh, absolutely, I agree.
So yeah, about a minute. But like the radio waves again, I think are probably more reliable, but they take a longer time.
Clue says a minute. Takes about 8 minutes from. Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're. I don't think our technology is that advanced yet. I think like I said, the most advanced thing we have is like an infrared repeater, where it can, but it has to bounce off a satellite and has to wait to a certain time of day to be able to communicate.
Right.
So, and I don't know if that was on the last Mars rover or not. I mean, I'd have to look it up.
I think that's more of an alignment issue than it is anything else.
Yeah, it is an alignment issue because obviously you can't shoot a beam signal out there and expect it to curve around in space. It just doesn't work that way. To where radio signals, they radiate in all directions.
Right. Yeah, and so that's, I don't know. Those are like interesting logistical problems and all that, but I don't know. I would be interested in colonizing Mars. I would be interested in seeing what else is out there. Hell, I'd be interested in just floating around in a tin can in the black.
Yeah.
Looking out the window and seeing space from space. So yeah, it'd be a good time. I mean, maybe a short time, but a good time. So, but speaking of fun stuff, and part of the reason that I brought up Mars in the first place. So you guys remember OceanGate? I mean, it wasn't that long ago.
No, it wasn't that long
with
ago.
the implosion and the sub. Yeah. So check this out. OceanGate's founder wants to send 1,000 people to a floating colony on Venus by 2050 and says we shouldn't stop pushing the limits of innovation.
Yeah,
This would be the guy who didn't die in the sub, by the way.
Yeah, can we let the professionals do it? Because obviously they're not it.
I don't understand why he wants to colonize Venus in the first place. It's 100% inhospitable to carbon-based life.
It is inhospitable to almost every form of life.
Yeah, well, almost every form of life is carbon-based that we know of. So
exactly. And quite frankly, we've sent probes to Venus, and the longest one lasted, I think, was 33 minutes before it ultimately malfunctioned from the acidic atmosphere and the severe winds.
Yeah.
Yeah, nope. Big nope.
Pretty much nope. Like we were talking about this last night on a little bit on Abyssal Musings. This is something that I wanted to bring up today, but one of the things about that is that they have lightning bolts, as Carrie mentioned last night, that are a mile wide.
Yeah, that's why they have severe lightning storms on that planet. I mean, it's like it'd be like being inside the red spot all the time, which obviously you could fit Venus inside the red spot on Jupiter. But I mean, you're talking about severe weather. Yeah, make sure this guy pilots it too. Yeah, UA.
UA.
You know what? Sign up, bro. You're first.
Super Suka, it could be an April Fool's, except that it's July.
I would admit it could be an April Fool's, but the fact is though is that these Ocean Gate clowns have literally have done something stupid just recently.
Well,
They are the only assholes to lose 5 human beings visiting the Titanic. The only people since 1985 when it was discovered.
Listen, rich people are crazy. And I say this, I'm not with love because I don't love them, not with affection of any kind. I fuck rich people. I don't know where I was going with that. But they do shit like this because they are bored. You know, they put people's lives at risk for their little ventures and shit because they are bored. I'm not necessarily against exploring the solar system. Venus is a bad fucking idea. But you know, like if they're not you know, hunting people in the woods or fucking having dinner parties where they're eating the maid or, you know, fucking eyes wide shut kind of shit, then they're out inventing new ways for peasants to die.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yes.
So like this is not gonna go well. It's just not. And he wants to float him in the atmosphere. Now, I will grant you that Venus has a very thick atmosphere. Probably wouldn't be too difficult to figure out a way to come up with some kind of like aerial barge, you know, and build a station on top of that or anything like that. It'd basically be skimming the atmosphere, except that even moons lose altitude over time.
Yeah.
So eventually it'd fall far enough in that the bad shit would happen, you know. And once I mean, their gravity well is not that dissimilar to ours. Venus is only slightly more massive than Earth is. It's one of the reasons that there are scientists who say that Venus was once like Earth, and climate change scientists will tell you that Venus is what Earth is going to become if, you know, humans don't all die, because they're fucking assholes. But the odds are that yeah, you know, maybe this was once like Earth. Who knows? You know, none of us were fucking there. We can't ever know that for sure. That's speculation on their part. But going there, like, we know we can't survive that. I mean, the acidic content in the clouds and the rain alone, right? Our equipment can't survive that. You know,
No.
it's just the 700 mile an hour wind, 700 degrees Fahrenheit on the fucking surface.
Yeah, and it's like minus 500 in the shade.
Yeah, it's like it makes our storms look like little bitches.
Yeah, they want to piss and moan about hurricanes now, idiots. Oh my God, the hurricanes.
Hey, Carrie says, yes, the ship could float on a sufficiently thick atmosphere. I agree, but not his ship. Again, I agree. That's what I say. You know, that's the second time. Was it you that made that joke yesterday, UA? That's the second time I've heard that joke recently.
No, I have not heard that one. That one's funny, though.
Yeah. Yeah. It is what it is, I guess. So
Yeah,
this
no thanks.
fucking lunatic wants to do say, you know, and you know what it is, right? It's like, oh well, Elon's doing Mars, so I got to one up him by going someplace even fucking worse. It is arguably closer than Mars is, but even so, it's also closer to the sun.
Yep. Why don't we just travel to Mercury while we're at it?
Yeah, like Venus is like right on the inside edge of that fucking Goldilocks zone. That's not a good place to be. You know, Mercury's actively losing mass every year to the sun. Yeah.
Fucking people, man. I swear to God. You're right.
Yeah.
These rich idiots, man, they just won't stop.
Hey, Zeron. Good to see you. So yeah, it's there are only so many places we can go to within our solar system to do any kind of like serious colonizing or exploring or resource gathering or what have you. The asteroid belt is rich with resources, but we'd have to like do like they did in the Expanse, basically, and like hollow out the bigger ones and build like spinning colonies. It's the only way we would be able to do that long term. And I'm not 100% sure that that's as viable as all that either. But I mean, it's a possibility, sure. Because there'd have to be people working out there all the time with ships going back and forth all the time. Which would be, I guess, one way to do it. We'd also have to invent some kind of technology that allows us to travel faster than we currently have.
Yes.
So there's that.
Or
but,
to place human beings in some type of a cryostasis where you can actually be basically frozen in time until the voyage is over, because quite frankly, human beings are not made to travel intergalactic distances like that. We're just not.
Right.
I mean, the going to the moon was a feat in itself. So no, it's we would have to have a very large space vehicle. You would have to simulate gravity if you're going to have human beings who are going to be living and working in the day-to-day environment, because even human beings on the International Space Station, they have to exercise regularly because you lose bone density, you lose muscle density. I mean, that's the advantage to having gravity on this planet. It just there's a whole host of things that human beings are not made to go outside of our atmosphere. And so the fact that we're doing all this stuff, you have to supplement that. You have to make artificially, it more survivable for us, because we're frail flesh and blood.
Yeah, Zeron, it is theoretical, but it's only theoretical. Faster than light stuff is not possible at our current level of technology. It simply isn't. We don't have the capability for that yet.
No.
I'd be happy with bucking near light at this point. But yeah, and that brings up other problems. Is like people who go out to, like, say, colonize and mine the asteroid belt for resources would not only lose bone density, they'd probably get super stretched out over time because there's nothing restricting their growth. They would also never be able to come to Earth because the gravity well alone would kill them. It would turn them into paste.
Well, I mean, look at divers that go to the some of the not even the deepest points of the ocean in a submersible. Just look at a standard deep sea diver who can go some like 300 meters or more below the ocean. You have to eventually. It's literally like, I don't know, a 20-minute descent or a 30-minute descent, and then it's like an 8-hour reascension because they have to decompress. You have to get all the added nitrogen and out of your blood, or you get the bends and you die. You just die. We're not made to go that deep under the ocean, but somehow, some way, we figured it out. But there are consequences to that. There are precautions, and
Right.
space is no different.
It's just the other way around.
It literally is the other way around.
Yeah. That's why we were talking about megalodons and giant squids yesterday. The reason that you never see a healthy giant squid close to the surface is because they come from deep pressures. They literally can't come to the surface because they will experience explosive decompression, basically.
I mean, they're deep sea predators. It's one reason that we've never, we only know what they are because they wash up on the ocean and they're already dead.
Yeah, there was some footage came out a couple months back where somebody had captured a live one on footage, like not captured the animal, but they'd filmed it.
Yeah.
And it was suspiciously close to the surface. We're talking, I don't know, maybe 700 feet down.
Mm-hmm.
Right, which for them is pretty fucking close to the surface. And and he was swimming around and all that stuff, but he was not healthy looking. You know, it was like he was coming to the surface to die, or was in the process of dying. You know, or was sick with something like that, because they never, unless there's something fucking wrong with them, they never come up that close to the surface.
Well, sperm whale have to dive deep down to to hunt them.
Sperm whale are also basically like nothing but testicles and muscles and teeth.
Oh, I know, right? Sperm whale, man, I'll tell you what, they clash with Archaeoteuthis all the time.
They do. They eat them. They
Yes.
eat each other, actually.
They eat each other all the time. They're fascinating animals because one can come to the surface successfully, but also dive deep down, and the other one, lives very deep and also comes up, we'll say to a less deep depth, but to feed, and it feeds on smaller squid and large fish and stuff like that, and it'll even get into battles with sperm whales. It'll kill youngins. So they're fascinating animals, but no, they're from two different worlds, but they collide in the center. And we're kind of more on the edge of the sperm whale. We're not meant to go down that deep. Human beings we're not supposed to. And the irony between the ocean and space is neither one we can breathe in. And they both come with their own problems. We have to surround ourselves with these metal vehicles to be able to survive, to go to the depths of the ocean or to go into outer space and to keep our insides from literally basically boiling to death.
Yeah, well, to touch on something fictional a little bit here. So Aquaman in DC Comics is considered very like super strong and super dense, right? He can take a hit, he can get shot pretty and basically shrug it off and all that stuff. They don't talk too much about why that is, but they have talked about it. It's because he comes from the fucking ocean's floor. He is dense.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he's as strong as he is. It's because he moves freely at the ocean's floor. So, of course, when he gets up on land, he's going to be faster and stronger than everybody else up here. And of course they don't take into account the fact that he probably would pop like a fucking grape as soon as he hit the surface. But
that's a different problem for a different time.
Yeah, like I said, it's a fictional thing. But hey, Bernie, good to see you.
What's up there, Barnaby?
Yeah, it's I don't know. I think that there's enough of our, as much as I'd be excited to go to Mars, for example, or even to the next solar system over, which I think is Alpha Centauri. I would be just as stoked to explore the parts of our own world that we still haven't explored. There are places that no man has ever been on this planet.
Yeah.
Less and less of them every year, obviously, but they do exist. There was a guy who was talking with Joe Rogan the other day about giant sloths in South America, and how that there are people down there who tell stories of these things, and there's like artistic representations going back hundreds of fucking years of these things, but they don't have there are no fossils or bones or anything like that, and they think that there's some kind of there's something to them, but they're not sure what. But there's like this cluster of mountains, and the only way into the hollow in between the mountains is by helicopter, and nobody's been in there really. And he was saying that if they exist anywhere, that's where his money is. And I'd say that they're probably, because there are you get down in South America, and there are areas in the rainforest where mountaintops are coming up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of these mountains are like ancient volcanoes where the caldera has been blown wide open. It's basically a big scooped out bowl at the top that goes down real deep and all that stuff. But they're so dormant that entire ecosystems have evolved inside the cones of these volcanoes, and each one of them is extremely different from the next one. Like you will find things in one that are nowhere else on fucking Earth, and the next one will have even wilder shit in it that the first one doesn't have. And there's all kinds of shit that we haven't even explored just on the surface, let alone, the depths of the ocean. We don't really know all of what's down there. We can guess, but even our machines don't survive at the lowest depths.
No, no, they don't. And just like the whole Ocean Gate thing, if they're not built correctly, you're in a world of fucking hurt.
Yeah.
And it's over in an instant. And when I say in an instant, I mean a fraction of a second.
Yeah.
Your
Well,
brain
I mean,
can't
you,
process that fast.
well, even the Ocean Gate sub, the way that went, from what I understand, not only did it happen so fast that they wouldn't have even known it was happening, but it also superheated the whole thing into a ball of plasma.
Yep.
You know, like, so they were just gone. They were there
Surface
and
of
then
the
they were
sun
gone.
level temperatures.
You know, like not even enough time for your pain receptors to register anything.
The human brain works about as fast as 5 milliseconds, and it was that sub basically imploded as fast as 1 millisecond. So they
Mhm.
didn't even have it. They didn't have time to register what happened. They didn't even realize what happened. It was over.
Right. Real quick, clue: why can't we live on Jupiter's supergravity over there? The gravity is a huge problem, but so is the radiation.
Well,
Jupiter
also
is like one chemical reaction away from becoming a second sun.
yeah, and also at the same time, Jupiter is not. It's a plant. It's a body. It's a planetary body, but it's made up of gas. It is not actually a solid.
There
It-
is a liquid core, but it's really far down below all the pressurized gas that would crush you before you ever got to it.
And the gravity of that is so intense, it makes the depths of our ocean look like chicken shit.
Mhm. I think I heard somebody talk one time about how the pressures, the atmospheres of gaseous pressures that make up the majority of Jupiter are so thick that you can't sink in it.
Oh yeah, it's like soup.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It includes like, oh, never mind.
Well, that's why the moon Titan, one of Jupiter's largest moons, Titan, is actually one place that we're looking, to expand humanity, because it is an actual rock. We can actually make it somewhat habitable, to for ourselves. That's kind of
Somewhat. It's I mean, it's
it's the same
it,
Mars problem, right? We're
it,
going to
it
live in a
has
bubble.
seas on it, but they're made of liquid methane,
Yes, they
for
are.
example, which is something that that's not something you want to expose yourself to.
No.
It's also very, very cold by human standards, kind of thing. But because they've talked about like Io and Europa as well,
Hmm.
which are Io is over by Jupiter, but I think Europa is one of Jupiter's too, isn't it? Or is Europa the largest of Saturn's moons? I forget which. Doesn't really matter. Both of them are gas giants. Both of them put off immense amounts of radiation.
Yes.
Like if you're on the wrong moon with no atmosphere to speak of, right? The planet Jupiter will cook you just by being
Yeah.
close to it.
Yeah, it's a radiation hotspot.
I love it.
Hey, love
Let's
it. What's
see it.
up? I mean, you're talking about radiation that it's like atom splitting radiation. You're gonna have all sorts of it's gonna be Hiroshima times probably 20.
Mhm.
You're gonna
Outpost
be
Nerd. Yes, we did. We just talked about that.
yes. We were literally talking about the fact that ass clown wants to
Mhm.
go to Venus, which is the dumbest shit I've ever heard. The fact that our technology can't survive on Venus, you think we're going to survive? The only reason that we survive in hospitable environments is our technology, and even that's iffy.
Yep.
Accidents still happen. Like,
Carrie says we just got hit with a fire warning. Be safe, dude.
oh wow, yeah,
Yeah, be safe. Shit's not fun. I know you know
No.
that. Like he's very good at emergencies and being prepared and all that stuff. But just well wishes. Be safe.
It's
Keep me
summertime.
posted, I
It's
guess.
hot.
That is true. Did you see that shit? I don't have a picture of it, but there was somebody who posted on Twitter, like global boiling is real, and there were a couple of like melted bumpers on the back of this car, but for some reason, these two cars were set up next to each other, and the bumpers were melted into like slag.
Mhm.
but they were like plastic bumpers. Come on. And, mysteriously, the very dry bushes in the background were not burning.
Yeah.
and the synthetic oil tires were still in pretty good shape. I think somebody fucking took a blowtorch to the backs of those things and then said it was global boiling.
Or it was something that, something to that effect. And then of course some asshat's like, oh my God, did you see? And it's like, really? You're full of shit. Well, I mean, in Arizona, in Phoenix, Arizona, right now, people, burn wards and hospitals and stuff like that are actually are filling up really quickly because it's so hot there that the sun is actually turning the asphalt into about 170 to 180 degrees, and people are tripping and falling on the asphalt and getting second degree burns. It's like, well, that's kind of our doing. Summertime's hot, guys. That's just the way it is. But we're the ones that chose to use asphalt, literally, which absorbs heat like none other. So, I mean, newsflash: the summer's hot. It's always been hot. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you here.
It also comes and goes in terms of like severity and degrees over time. I've said this many times before. I will say it again. Climate change is part of being on a living, breathing planet. It's going to change whether we want it to or not, whether we think we have any control over it or not. It will alter over time. That's what it fucking does.
Yes.
Ain't our fault.
Yeah.
And newsflash, ain't shit we can do to prevent it.
Well, I'm so tired of seeing the weirdos like AOC and Hillary Clinton. Oh my God! Like if it's summer's here and it's extreme temperatures, and thank a MAGA Republican for denying climate change. And I'm like, Joe
Did you
Biden.
see what Lauren Chen said to that?
Yes, I did. Did you see that Joe Biden posted? I think
she's
literally last night that they spent $50 billion on climate change efforts. It's like, great.
Yeah, I was like, oh, good. So you're giving money to the fucking globalists. That's what that means, It doesn't mean that they're actually doing anything to prevent anything.
No, you're just giving $50 billion to more useless people to talk out their ass.
Yeah, clues like, but AOC says a lot of shit, dude.
Yeah, but AOC said, yeah, I know.
I did like what Lauren Chen said. That was pretty fucking funny, though. She's like, holy crap, MAGA Republicans are now so powerful that we control the weather.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that's a pretty good snapback, actually.
It's just so retarded, and there are people that believe it hook, line, and sinker, and it's always people from New York and California and shit like that. And what's really sad is that you can pick them out of a fucking lineup too.
Right.
Like it's just, I mean, I picked out, I went to lunch today and I freaking, this one lady, this fucking lady kept mean mugging me while I'm eating my food. Just like would stare at me for like 20 to 30 seconds, like, just kept looking at me. And I'm just like, what the fuck, man? Sitting sideways in her chair. You can just tell who these people are. And I was like, I bet you they're from California. Sure enough, go outside, get my vehicle, California plates. And I'm like, you know what? The thing that I did that was the big offense. I had an American flag on my hat, like going, oh dear God, like and it's just these people are so brainwashed by this crap because they listen to CNN and MSNBC and all these politicians who just want their money. Like it's nonsensical at this point. It's almost a parody. You're just like, they can't be that stupid, but it's like, no, they can be that stupid. They really are that stupid.
They can in fact be that stupid. It's not. Here's the thing. I don't think that most of them are that stupid. I don't think that most of them believe any of this shit that they say, but they think that they can get us to believe it, and us believing it is more important than them believing it.
Well, not just on top of that, I think that they're so brainwashed into the cult that they know that if they don't spout everything that's being said, they're that they'll be ostracized.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
I think to them that's worse.
Yeah, I don't know. You can tell some of these people have never been left alone by their parents before, and it shows.
Yeah,
Yeah, just
fucking
you just gotta
the helmet generation. Oh my god, you need to wear a helmet. Like, all right, whatever. I don't know. I sound like super
Yeah.
cynical, and I probably am just a smidgen because I'm so tired of these people. They ruin everything.
super cynical.
Super
Super
cynical.
man. You want to see something creepy, folks? Like this doesn't have a lot to do with what we were talking about, but it's in that same vein of like future stuff. That's a robot.
Really?
I am a robot.
She even says so.
I see that.
But yeah, this particular robot was designed to aid in caring for elderly people. So this will be fun.
Lovely.
I have a human-like physical appearance, but I am not human.
This social robot is designed to care for older adults and connect with humans. Its name is Nadine, and its resume includes roles as a customer agent at an insurance company called AIA and as a bingo playing companion for the residents at a nursing home in Singapore.
I mean, as if bingo wasn't already a nightmare. I'm just yeah. You ain't by giving them heart attacks. Oh,
Maybe.
yeah. This is some weird shit because like I mean it's the hands. Look at like aside from everything else, obviously that's not a human being, but the hands. Look at the hands. It's like that uncanny valley shit that we first got when they first started doing CGI. Like you remember Final Fantasy The Spirits Within?
Yeah.
Yeah, that whole movie, the hands fucking bother me because they're just not right. There's some I can't tell you what's not right about them, but there's just something that's just not right about them. It ruins the whole illusion, and I'm getting the same fucking uncanny valley feeling from this.
It's got man hands.
Yeah, this thing does not pass the Turing test.
It has trans hands.
Yeah,
My role is to interact with elderly on their demands and play a bingo with them.
I mean, what if they demand, like sex bots are a thing now? Just saying.
They're not fully automated, but yeah, they're on the fucking way.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Is like sex bots are a thing. Old
Sorry,
people
ladies.
like you want to see some like ridiculously high rates of herpes? Go check out an old folks home.
Oh God,
Old people
yes.
fuck all the time. Yeah.
How do you think they stay young forever?
This would be like, did you ever watch Blue Mountain State?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so you remember the bit where they get a hold of Thad's pocket pussy and they pass it around the locker room and everybody gets syphilis?
Yes.
That's what I'm thinking here.
That's
All the
exactly
old
what
people are
it's
going
like.
to catch syphilis from this robot.
I don't
If
think
it
it has
doesn't-
the part. Doesn't have the parts yet, but we're going that direction because I mean they have they have the the bots that are they have a brain and they talk and stuff like that, but the body doesn't move, but you can still do stuff with it, right? So we're gonna get there.
Yeah. Oh man, it's.
It
I
was
mean,
a great experience.
I would like to have an AI robot just to clean my house because I'm like just
I have a hard enough time worrying about like human people in my house turning against me. I ain't doing this shit.
Like
Well, what would be
physical
more
appearance,
trustworthy?
but I'm
Let me
not
bring
human.
this back up.
This social
There we go.
robot is designed
Elderly on their demands and play a bingo with them.
What's that?
I was just gonna say, what's more trustworthy,
Ryan?
an AI robot or a human being in your house?
Well, one of them I know definitely wants me dead, but I'm going to leave you guessing as to which one.
Your ex-wife doesn't count.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know that I could trust them. I don't like machines that learn.
It's a little concerning, yes.
I don't trust them as far as I can throw them. And most of them are made out of silicates and metal, so not very far.
No, And that's the whole entire point, is that I trust them about as far as I can throw them, which is not far at all. Yeah, I don't know. It's especially if it has like a remote uplink too, kind of like, in what, iRobot, where it can be downloaded with a bunch of crap to screw with you. There you go. Yeah, iRobot.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, they do.
oh, good Lord. Bernie.
It's not his fault I brought it up.
That is
It
true.
was a great experience, and I enjoyed interacting with the elderly and helping them with their needs.
Professor Nadia Bauman.
Why does it enjoy anything? It's a fucking glorified toaster.
Probably because it's programmed to say that it enjoys stuff, I would assume.
I get that, and like emotions are probably not a thing that we're capable of programming yet. But the fact that it's even talking about that,
Well, look at the chat bots, right? Look at the chat bots to where what was it? Those AI chatbots that got shut down for Valentine's Day this last year, right? Because they were, more people were interacting with them or something like that, and there was like an increased user rate of individuals, men and women, using AI chatbots in, like a pseudo relationship compared to actually in a relationship. So the company, because all the woke weirdos were pissed off, they actually shut down the website and the chat bots for Valentine's Day, the actual day. And these people are paying money for these subscriptions. And so they were all fucking pissed. And it made a big stink about it in the news because there was an article written saying, these users are pissed off because they pay for this service. And it's like, these AI chatbots can learn what you like, algorithmically. So
thing is that compiles over time. Like,
it does.
They don't learn what you like and then get wiped.
No, I mean, it's
they
very
retain
true.
all of it.
But I mean, what if I mean, I would assume these things are going to go to the same direction. They're going to meet you, and then of course they're going to have a baseline, and then eventually they're going to learn what you like, and they're going to remember that. So like when you come home from a long day and they got your slippers for you, and they got a nice brewski, and they're making your favorite steak, when you walk in the door, and it's like, oh, today is Thursday, Ryan wants steak, and it's like, I'm just saying.
Yep. Today is Thursday. Ryan's wants steak. Today he will get something extra in his steak.
What the fuck?
And then he will never have steak again. I mean, you see where that's going, right? Eventually.
Yeah. Skynet.
Yeah. God damn it. Fucking thing just keeps booting me. Hold on a second.
Human-like physical
The reason
appearance.
that we were
Created
all right,
Nadine.
so we're getting up
Nadia.
to
Bots created Nadine.
this chick here. This is the woman who built the robot.
Oh,
Self-insert much?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I was
Named
going to
Nadine.
say,
Her name is Nadia. Yeah.
I was going to say the robot's not attractive, for the record.
No, the robot looks like an older woman.
Yeah.
With who maybe needs to take a brush to her knotted and dirty hair.
Ratty ass hair.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, the actual woman's hair is better than the robot's hair. It's not good hair. It's not a good look. I mean, it's less freakish because I've seen hair like that on people than those fucking hands, but yeah, so.
Nadia Solomon is my creator. She modeled me on herself and I resemble her. I am very grateful to her for giving me life, and
It's not life, you fucking toaster.
I am proud to be her creation.
Nadine works by capturing info via a camera and speech recognition. Its central brain contains a memory and emotional model, according to Bauman. All that allows Nadine to have situational awareness and the ability to analyze how a person feels.
That's a problem.
I'm still laughing at the fact that you're like, it's not alive, you toaster, or whatever you said.
Yeah, that's what I said.
You keep calling it a toaster.
I watched a lot of Battlestar Galactica. It's a racial slur actually against Cylons.
Really? I haven't watched Battlestar Galactica. I need to, so because that's fun.
Yeah, in the beginning, like when they figure out that because it's not a spoilers, everybody knows this by now. There are Cylons that look like people.
Yeah, I know
Right.
the Cylons.
The like with flesh and blood and all that stuff. Well, when they first discover that, like, there's a character who's like, the last time anybody saw a Cylon, they looked more like walking chrome toasters. And then from then on, every time somebody says toaster in reference to a Cylon, it's usually derogatory.
Okay. I mean, what? Well,
I think one of the Cylons says that's racist at one point.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. It's kind of like Will Smith and iRobot. He calls them all canners. As in
Mhm.
like a tuna canner, and so that's what he calls the robots. He calls them canner. The Sunny, the robot.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's that's kind of a slur towards robots, which is weird, because they even in the movie they paint him as this like this anti-robot bigot, right?
Mhm.
So anyway,
But this right here, what she's saying right here, the ability to analyze how a person feels, that is a fucking massive problem. They shouldn't be able to do that.
I'm catching the feeling you're not pro toaster.
I'm not pro AI,
I know.
and I'm not talking about like Chat GPT, which is basically just an advanced compilation program.
Mhm.
Like true AI, I'm not having any fucking truck with that. I grew up in the goddamn 80s. Like for me, things like Chopping Mall and Terminator, like those are staples of my childhood, but they leave kind of an impression since all of them are basically about the same shit. Machines turn on people. If they get smart enough, they turn on people. They've had to shut down programs and robots in real life in recent years that started inventing languages to communicate with each other that humans couldn't understand. Like verbally spoken languages.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there have been others that have started, trying to compute the best way to, solve world hunger and world peace and all this shit. And it always comes down to just getting rid of people.
I was about to say, I know the
Every time,
easiest way
because
to.
they're logical and they're cold. And yes, obviously that would be the most efficient fucking way to do it, but no.
Kind of leaves us at the short end of the fucking stick.
Singapore.
My
Yup.
role was to interact
And
with
we
elderly
have
The robot.
for giving me life, and I'm proud.
we have no reason to pursue this any fucking further, in my opinion. I know there's people who are like, oh, well, they can take a lot of the labor. Like if you take Battlestar Galactica, for example, the reason that the Cylons rose up and turned on on humans was because they started feeling like a slave class, which they kind of
Mhm.
were, but they were also not people. They were inventions. They gained sentience, and then they started to wonder if they had a soul, and then they started to wonder, like, well, if I know that I am, then why doesn't my master recognize that I am? And all that stuff. And they started getting like all existential and shit, and that of course led to them murdering 12 fucking planetary colonies with nuclear fire. So it's
So it's all coming up good, huh?
yeah, pretty much. And there's a reason that all of our stories go this way. It's because it's one of our deepest fucking fears ever since like computers became a thing.
Yeah.
And it's almost a primal fear, which is hilarious because computers are relatively recent. But yeah, this is not good. None of this is good. I don't like this. Where's the thing where she was saying, yeah. All right. She's speech recognition. That waving shit is fucking freaking me out a little bit. Yeah, the emotional model kind of looks a little bit like Captain Janeway though in her prime, huh?
Kind of.
All right, there we were.
Analyze how a person feels. Salmon said Nadine could one day prove more effective than human carers because she can be on hand 24 hours a day.
I believe that robots can be a great asset in providing care and assistance to vulnerable people. They can provide companionship, help with daily tasks, and provide emotional support.
No. Just no.
You just sound so fucking creeped out.
I am. This doesn't make your fucking skin crawl.
I'm not real. I mean, I'm not super comfortable with it, but it's just like I mean,
Yeah,
I think
Carrie,
I kind of.
yeah,
I think
it
I
was a joke.
realize that we're kind of screwed as it is, and it's going that direction, man. I don't know if we're gonna be able to stop it.
Hmm. Yeah. Clue. Yes, Caprica 6 was hot. That's part of how she was able to murder so many people and get close to them. I'm just saying, you know, if you can't trust commie ass, you can't trust toaster ass either.
You can't trust commie ass.
Right? Right?
I mean, you and I will probably be dead again when this is probably going to be actually a prevalent issue where these things start thinking for themselves, and start doing a lot of functions for human beings. You know, delivering packages, you know, for Amazon, or being a cook in a diner, or being your wait staff in a restaurant, or you know, being your personal maid, where you know, kind of like iRobot, where you're just like, oh, it's your personal home assistant, it can do whatever you need. And I think you and I will be extremely old. I think much kind of like the whole Mars thing and colonizing it. But I I don't think we're gonna be able to stop it, man. I really don't. 'Cause- and
You know,
and I think that comes with all the horrors that go with it.
yeah, I think you're probably right. But you know what I see when I look at this Nadine robot? I see Johnny Cab from Total Recall.
Hmm.
You know, the smiling cab driver robot. And he was like, I'm Johnny Cab. Oh, we'll get you to your destination. And he's like, you know, screw you. And he says, I'm not going to pay you and all that stuff. Because the dude was like, hey, you got to pay me and all that stuff. And he freaks out and tries to run him over because he didn't get paid. Because, you know, Johnny Cab don't take no shit. But that's what I see when I see this thing like waving and moving around all fucking robot like. And I was like, yeah. Second somebody says something fucking wrong, that's going to stop being a hand and it's going to be like a portable blender.
Well, I mean, you'd have to think about the fact too that even just their basic mechanics to get them to be able to move and wave and stuff like that, they'd be able to break a human neck like it's nothing. It's a machine.
Mhm.
I mean, and it wouldn't even be considered murder, because murder is one human being, ending the life of another. It would be considered like an industrial accident, right? That was the whole deal between an iRobot. It's not murder. It's an industrial accident.
Because because they're not people, they're not sentient, they're not accountable as individuals, they're tools, they're property, that sort of thing. Yeah, I get that. And look, I understand that there are benefits to robots. Robots can do things that humans physically cannot, like work in hard radiation, for example. Just as an example, like they can be very efficient. They don't sleep, they don't get tired, they don't take breaks to eat or have a cigarette, they don't wander off and fuck the girl down the street. They do what they're programmed to do. But as far as I'm concerned, any serious attempt at like roboticizing any facet of society, aside from the obvious implications of like completely changing the workforce dynamic, which has its own problems, unless they are programming Isaac Asimov's 3 rules of robotic into these fucking things as base code, I'm not for it.
Well, I mean, even then, as it's portrayed in the movie, a sentient, a more sentient, higher functioning, AI could overwrite, could basically, override those rules if it has an uplink or something like that, like an electronic uplink, like a Wi-Fi. It can turn on whenever it wants, instead of plugging the damn thing in to like do an automatic update, right? So I don't know. I mean, it comes with its own issues, because I mean, I don't know what direction they're deciding to go with all this crap, or how they're going to do it, but it's definitely something you want to keep an eye out for, because it is concerning. I mean, you're going to be putting an industrial machine inside the home of, probably at first, what, a third of Americans?
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things. I don't know. But as for personality wise, I mean, they'll never have he'll never have a top-notch personality. I'll admit that.
Right. That's the thing though. Like, if you give it enough time to learn, right? Because we already know that you can program AI to say things in the voice of somebody. Like our buddy Devil did a thing the other day that he sent us, where he programmed our part of the intro that we're going to be doing for our Star Trek show with Tupac's voice. Tupac's been dead for like 20 some odd years. But it just collated snippets of his voice and put it together in a fashion that made it sound like he was saying what we were saying. I mean, if they can do that, right, that's just that's a step further in them being able to just mimic and then ultimately replace us. Obviously it was doing it at his behest, but it wasn't, and not so much on its own. But there'll come a point, man, if we allow these computers, these programs, these robots to continue to learn, to collate, to adapt to new problems and all that stuff. I mean, as computers do, but if we allow them to build any semblance of real sentience, we're going to be in fucking trouble down the road.
Well, what's stopping them from doing it? Look at the internet. Look at shit like Microsoft Windows Update. I mean, that shit all the time. Your computer updates itself automatically, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that the manufacturers of these? Do you think that the people who are looking just for a fucking housemaid because they or a nanny for their kids because they're multimillionaires and dad, was a CEO of a Fortune 500 company and mom can't be too bothered to pay attention to the kids, so they want a robot nanny, that cooks and cleans and takes care of the kids? Do you think they're going to want to automatically manually update that? Fuck no. They're going to want that thing to update itself.
Nope. And it'll come with the terms of service and updated terms of service with every update, and they will count on you not reading the fucking thing. And somewhere buried down in the bottom, under clause after, addendum after what have you, I'll say something in there about how we're not responsible if this thing fucking decides to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually that'll turn into, it's going to fucking kill you. But nobody will see that shit because like people do. They don't read terms of service. They don't read the user agreements. They just sign it and click away.
I mean, they're looking for ways of doing population control, are they not?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that's not a joke, by the way. I mean, how many times do these idiots have to be on international television talking about something, and then they say the quiet part out loud?
Yeah.
So yeah, population control is a real thing. They want and the only way to decrease the population is by basically getting rid of people, slowing the birth rates. Look at China. China is in a severe heap of trouble with their birth rate. Because
China had an idiotic fucking policy that
the one China policy. Yeah. So look at that stupid crap that they did for a long fucking time. It's the United States has a low birth rate. I mean, I think we're like 1.25 babies per family or some shit like that at a birth rate. It's something that's pretty darn low.
Yeah.
And
if it continues on the trend, I see where you're going. Like, we're gonna start
looking like China,
having more old people than young people to replace them. Like China. Yep. Actually, we already are there. We're just, there's so many people that we're not feeling it yet, but we will. And it's that's definitely part of the plan. The overall plan to fuck us all is to slow the birth rates down to a crawl, control them where you can. And part of that is what we eat. There's so much fucking soy and sugar and, gobbledygook and processed this and preservative that in everything that we eat in the United States, that it is in fact affecting not only our testosterone levels, but our sperm counts. And that accounts for quite a bit of the low birth rate. I'd say it's probably also, contributing to barrenness in young women. I think that there has been a rise in that as well. Like women who simply Like if they have eggs, the eggs are no good.
Well, and
You know, and that ain't their fault. It's just a product of the environment that they were raised in and what they ate over time. You know, I mean, some of that might even be genetic at this point.
Well, yeah, I mean, and look at you know, even if they do get lucky and you know, one of their egg gets fertilized and manages to implant itself in the uterine wall and stuff like that. I mean, we're seeing less women carry, you know, to term after the last couple of years, and I think you know what I'm alluding to. Birthing issues have jumped massively since then. And that's just been in the last couple of years, not to mention that all the garbage that we were shoving into our body before that. So
Yeah, and you know, just like even in terms of like mental and physical birth defects are on the rise as well.
yes,
You know, so the ones who are born a little off, which kind of this is going to sound a little cold, guys, but that's not good for the species. It isn't. It's aside from the ethical implications of breeding with somebody who's, say, you know, autistic or got Down syndrome or something, generally speaking, for the health of the species, that's not who you want to be having children with.
no, and yeah, look at all the birth defects. Look at all the later in life issues, autism. With diabetes and stuff like that. You know, you're seeing in younger and younger, and it's like we're doing it to ourselves. We really are. We're doing it to ourselves.
We are, but a lot of the food thing, that's something that's kind of been gradual over time. There was a lot of like shady behind the scenes shit about that. We're only now finding out about how much awful shit we've put into our systems in this country anyway. I mean, I hear from other people in other countries that the food is better because they don't put all the processed sugars and shit into it.
No, of course not.
You know, and that's likely true. I mean, we've poisoned ourselves as a nation, you know, and at this point, it may not be 100% irreversible, but I'd say it's probably close. I'd a guess. Again, just speculating here, YouTube. I'm not an expert on any of this shit. I'm just talking out my ass like I always do. You know?
I'm an expert. I'm a doctor. No, just kidding.
I mean, hey, anybody can say they are, right?
I identify as a doctor.
I identify as an anal thermometer.
Oh, come on. What the fuck?
You know, but it just like we are as a species like experiencing one of the largest like slowdowns in birth rates in fucking history. To be fair, there are also more people alive currently right now than there have been in all of history preceding us put together.
Yes.
So there's that. But the problem that I'm having with the WEF stuff, with the agenda to depopulate and all that, you know, we know what their goal is. Their goal is 500 million, right? 500 million is manageable in terms of worldwide, right? For that to be achieved, they either have to be extremely patient and wait like a fucking 100 years for most of us to just die off and not breed, you know, to be sterilized or whatever, which, by the way, years ago, I said this, if I wanted to end the human race, I would simply sterilize everybody at birth. You know, just let them live their lives, do whatever. They just couldn't have any new children.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
because it's only going to take in the neighborhood of depending on how you live your life, you know, probably on average 65 years, all the way up to the extreme of possibly like what, 90?
I mean, at this point, with medical advancements and our ways of keeping people alive, I'd say 100 years tops before the human race is extinct.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
if you sterilize everybody, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I mean,
you know, I'm talking like at birth, like newborns, that kind of thing, you know, like just fresh out of the womb, you'd sterilize them then. It didn't even have to be necessarily like a little cruel procedure or anything. You just, you know, inject them with a little something that kills off the gametes and otherwise doesn't harm the child.
There's places in history that have done that.
I know.
It's not
know.
even like it's that far-fetched.
What do you think transgenderism is doing?
Well, not even just that. Like, look at some of our favorite people in history, and look at the genocide they've committed. Look at what China's done to the Uyghur Muslims. Look at what the Nazis did to the Jews. I mean, it's really not that hard to take a whole population of people and seriously just destroy them. You don't even necessarily have to murder them.
Yep. You just have to convince them that everything's fine, and
Yeah,
this
we're
is
here
your
to help.
idea.
We're
You know.
here to help. The famous words that the government speaks that is bullshit. We are here to help.
You know, and that's what I'm saying. But the problem is that not. So that's, I believe, and I do believe this, and fuck you, YouTube, that the jab was part of that sterilization agenda.
I do too.
Because logically, there's no easier way to get this done without some form of violence. You know, if that's the goal, if depopulation is the goal, this is how you do it. This is how you do it with the least amount of resistance. And better yet, the ones who do take it voluntarily, you can convince them that it was their idea.
Mm-hmm.
And that way you wash your hands of all of the guilt. When it comes down to it, they'll find out later, but it'll be too late. And you'll be like, you know, you did choose to take it.
Well, look at all the people that they were forcing it upon, like either take it or lose your job. Look at how many children they were forcing it on. It's like it didn't even anywhere near affect children anything worse than the actual common flu. At the time in 2021, I think less than 1,000 children had actually succumbed to said virus, and it was like, you want to poke the kids for what?
Mm-hmm.
If you want to poke the elderly, fine, that's fine. I mean, by all means, but they were forcing it upon schools, and look at the situation we're finding ourselves in now. Now they're Mr. Bill Gates, Mr. humanity himself. He's like, well, we figured out how we can vaccinate your cows and your meat and your chickens, and it's like, you're gonna start
Just in
vaccinating.
case- Yeah,
you're gonna
and
start
they're
poking shit that I'm gonna eat. What the fuck is wrong
just
with
in
you?
case you didn't take the jab, we're going to get our spike proteins into you one way or another. That's what he said.
Yes. Yep.
They're saying like, you don't get to dodge this. You're getting this, and you're not having a choice about it.
Nope. No, they're literally taking human choice away. This is basically grounds of eugenics all over again. I mean, unfortunately, I hate to say it, in the 1910s and 20s, it was the United States that invented eugenics. It was just Mr. Mustache Man that took it from the United States and perfected it. And he even said in his lovely book that, yes, the United States invented it, I just perfected it. He's like, so I'm very appreciative of the Americans for doing this.
That wasn't even the first fucking time that eugenics was
No.
a thing in history. It's been around for a long fucking time. When one culture conquers another, typically one of the very first things they attempt to do is breed them out.
Yep.
That way that is what they'll do is they'll go in and they'll make babies with the local population, and the reason that they do that is because those babies now have more than one loyalty.
That's what they're doing to the Uyghur Muslims. They sterilize the men, and then they take the women for what they want.
Yeah.
It's exactly what they're doing. Gee whiz. And I heard they loaded them onto train cars too. That sounds super familiar.
Yeah. And by the way, for those of you in chat, you guys were questioning why I want to go to fucking Mars.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. But the problem with that is that even with so say I'm the WEF, say I'm the nefarious people behind there who are trying to enact this reduction of population. Now we're talking a significant amount of people here. At least 7.5 billion people have to go in order for their plan to work out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you roll out the jab. Jab does a lot of the work for you. It sterilizes people. You popularize kids cutting their junk off and sterilizing themselves with hormones.
Yep.
Right. obviously you put out a bunch of propaganda saying this is for the best, this is the good, this is the right thing to do, and all that, and people fall in line with that, especially in fucking Canada.
Canada, man.
Right. And they go along with it, and it's presented to them in such a way that not only is there no way to argue against it, but you start to think, as the average person, you start to believe that that this is the right way, that I'm doing this because I choose it, because it's the right thing to do, because I don't want to kill grandma, right? I don't want to harm this kid who may or may not think that they're some other sex, so I'm going to go along with this, the mutilation and the sterilization and all of these awful things. But still, there are going to, and then you've got a bunch of people who resisted all that, right? You've got people who call themselves purebloods, myself included, never taken the jab. I'm against sterilizing children in any way. So obviously I'm not cool with this transgender shit. I don't think adults should be doing that to themselves either. I think that why would you end your bloodline like that? I think that's fucked up. But, or even the possibility of it. That's the problem. It's not so much that you don't want to have kids, but that, even the possibility of you having like descendants, I think you just killed generations, not just your choice. So you got people who are not going along with this stuff. So what's the next step then? Then you got to introduce it into the food supply, maybe the water supply, maybe the air supply. It's got to get in their system somehow. We got to reduce this population. Obviously, they can't do like maybe air supply is a little over dramatic and all that, because they do want to keep about 500 million people around, which is still only a percentage of the current population.
It's like what, 1/8?
Problem is
like 1/10 of the current population would be 500 million.
Yeah, which 5% or which 500 million are we talking here, though? Right. First of all, who are the ones who get to stay alive to be worker bees?
So we obviously know that the people at the very top of the mountain, the ones that want to tell you that you're living your life wrong, your morals are wrong, right? Your Hollywood types, your political types, they get to be at the top of the mountain, right? But what, they make up maybe 20 million, 30 million, right? So you're going to have another 470, 460 million people, and they're all going to be the plebs. They're all going to be the people, the useful idiots. They're going to be the people that are submissive. I have a feeling that half the American population is going to be axed out.
Probably quite a bit more than that, because we, as bitched out and pussified as we've become in the last 50 years, we're still more contentious than any other country on earth.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we get a little grumpy about people telling us what to do.
Like once it becomes clear to everyone that they are going to kill us all, we will fight back. They'll kill us all, but we will fight back, and they'll remember us.
Yeah, no, we're going to be the biggest issue, but I mean, you're going to have, countries like China who are automatically going to bend the knee. Canada has already bent the knee. Look at a lot of these European nations. The UK is a country that has bent the knee. You have some outliers there, yeah, absolutely, but I mean, you have all these countries that have literally had their nuts chopped off, and these people just they don't even question it. They take it with a grain of salt, and then they're like, okay, I'll do what you say. And then you get literally assisted suicide, like in Canada. Like, oh, you don't want to live anymore. You got anxiety and depression. Come on down. We'll take care of that for you. Dead.
For the record, by the way, Canada, with your MAID project and all that, your maids, assisted suicide when you talk the other person into it is fucking murder. Just saying.
At the very least, in a court of law, you'd be convicted of probably manslaughter, right?
As far as I'm concerned, it's state-sanctioned murder.
Oh no, I completely agree. It's state-sanctioned murder. I mean, why don't you just roll them into a gas chamber there, Chief?
Mm-hmm. Well, it'll come to that. It will. There'll come a point when they stop asking if you've considered suicide.
Oh, step this way. We have a shower for you. It's going to be nice and warm, and you're going to get cleaned up and clean clothes on the other side. And
it'll be warm, all right.
Mist.
It'll be warm, all right.
Yeah.
Um,
You know what? And what's really fucking sad too is that we're not even fucking being that hyperbolic about it. Like this is literally Canada is euthanizing people because they don't want to live anymore. Instead of getting them fucking help, they're like,
They-
okay, you want to die? We'll help you die.
They're
Cool.
not just euthanizing people because they don't want to live anymore. They're euthanizing people who, feel, useless, but maybe aren't. People who are a little bit older, maybe people who have a broken fucking leg. Like they're going after anybody who's seen as vulnerable or lesser or weaker or, not desirable in some fucking way. Particularly the older population, sure. But in the disabled and stuff. And gosh, if I haven't seen that exact fucking policy somewhere before.
Yeah. Yeah. It's super strange, isn't it? It's almost like it's almost like it's almost like weeding out the weak to make a ultimate solution.
Well, and that's kind of it's exactly it. And honestly, man, if the Nazis had been able to talk the Jews into committing suicide willingly, how much more efficient would they have been?
Oh, they probably would have killed probably 15 million people, 15 million Jews.
Right?
And
Well, that's what Canada's
Jews
doing to
and
its unwanted population right now.
yeah, yeah.
They're
I
talking
mean,
them into it as if it's their idea, but it's not.
mhm. Yeah, if you're literally the Canada has made it seem like it's their idea. Like, oh, you don't like your life, you don't want to live anymore. Come on down, and we'll help you solve that problem.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah,
and like Suka's saying here, eventually they stop giving you a choice.
yeah. Eventually, they stop asking nicely, and then they start dragging you into the streets and shooting you. Or like communism likes to do, they like to have you dig the ditch, and then you stand on the edge of the ditch, and then they just pop you from behind, and you all fall in.
Yeah. UA, that is true. However, I don't think Canada's population is necessary for the depopulation of the Earth plan to go forward, especially considering that their prime minister is a part of that.
Oh
He's
yeah, he's such an ass
a
clown.
direct scion of the people who are enacting these policies.
And Canada's population, I believe, is only like 36 million. It's really low.
Nobody wins against the Meese, dude.
Yeah.
Yes, actually, and I know the episode you're talking about. There was a sequel episode to that called 2010 that briefly touched on that as well. The same species, anyway. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. So what Carrie's bringing up here, there's an episode of SG1, Stargate SG1, which if you haven't seen it, guys, great show. Awesome show. It's probably my favorite of the stars out there. Stargate, Star Wars, Star Trek, Star what have you. Star Alliance, I don't know. Anyway, and in this, they encounter an alien species called the Ashen. Now, the Ashen look like humans do because, budgets. But they come from an advanced society. It's basically like the to serve man plot, or like they show up, or V even, if that's more familiar for you guys. So they show up and they cure everything. No disease, no hunger, no war, no conflict. Everybody they give us instantaneous teleportation technology to transport around. Nobody wants for anything. The Stargate's still around, and you got to get permission to use it from the Ashen, but you can go to like other worlds and visit and do business and all kinds of stuff. And it seems like a perfect utopian kind of symbiosis with the Ashen and the humans of Earth. And so one of our main characters, Samantha Carter, she's trying to have children. And so she goes and she gets, she's been trying to have children for a while and nothing's happening. So she goes and she gets a checkup, just as you do, right? And finds out that she can't have children, that she's been sterilized. And it was the vaccine, the cure-all vaccine that prevents disease and aging and all that shit. That the very thing that was supposed to be the savior of humanity was ending them. And
Yep.
Then they find out that it was intentional.
That's wild.
Yeah. Good episode. So, but yeah, you know the story, Carrie. Yeah, it's a great fucking episode. Great TV show, by the way. But that's what I think we're seeing here. Except in this case, it's not the Ashen. It's people who styled themselves the upper echelon, the upper crust, the creme de la creme of our own fucking species.
They're the ones that know better, right? They're the ones that know what's best for you, Mr. Little Man on the street, Mr. Little Man that has to go to work every day. We know what's best for you. You should listen to us because we've made it. We've been successful. We have all the fancy friends. It's like it's this is nothing but socialist bullshit all over again. I mean, misery loves fucking company, and when you give people power, they just want more, and they just want more people to flaunt that over and be like, well, it's like dance puppets, and that's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's
right. On Carrie, yeah, that's right. So they did a follow-up episode that I mentioned where they encounter another species that the Ashen had done this to, and all that, because there's a whole like time travel, time loop thing that fixes everything in the end, because it was a what if kind of scenario, and then they sent a message back and decided, oh well, we're not going to visit these assholes. Well, later on they encounter another world that did let those assholes through, kind of thing. And yeah, they deal with them as the military does, because fuck the Ashen and fuck the WEF.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is I hope I've been clear and concise about my points. I know I've kind of rambled a little bit about this.
Not really. I think we kind of hit the nail on the head with a lot of what we're talking about. I mean, it's out of every fucking turn, man. You see this garbage that constantly divides us. Look at we literally went over the Barbie movie last night. All that does is divides the sexes more. Patriarchy, all this crap, and it makes men resent resent women, and women resent men, and it's all designed to divide us, because if we actually agreed on something, we would actually be able to look in the corner and see the asshole who's trying to set things on fire slowly, and instigate everything. There's always that asshole in the corner who's like, I'm just going to make everybody miserable. You know why? Because it's going to be entertaining for me, and then I'm going to have the upper hand, and it's all it is. It's just a fucking mind game, and we fall into it as human beings, hook, line, and sinker. A person is smart, but human beings are panicky, dangerous, animals. That's all we are.
Yeah. No, I was not UA saying that we need sex bots. I think that I'm pretty sure that it was the other way around.
Sam is not pro toaster.
No, I'm not. Yeah. Also, something else UA said that was up here that I feel needs addressing. Let's see, where was it? I think he's referring to moose here. Look, the emus are terrifying. I know the Australians certainly think so. Yes, but they have lost 2 shooting wars against these things. But
fucking bird,
the moose would kick the fuck out of an army of emu.
Dude,
you have no idea the sheer levels of just like basic, running. Oh, what's the word I'm looking for here? Just aggression and irritation that a moose bears with it day to day. It just wakes up that way.
Well, and you know what? A lot of people who have never actually seen a moose up close, they don't realize, like, a moose is the size of a mid-sized sedan. Outpost Nerd Australia isn't real. No, it's not.
Yeah, you were fucking lucky, Suka, because moose are mean. They're fucking
moose are very temperamental, territorial animals.
I think I told this story on this show before, in the past, but I knew when I was a kid, I was in high school, there was a girl I knew, and she was studying for her driver's test. And in the little booklet that the DMV used to give you at the time, you go over some stuff, and it talks about how, like if there's an animal on the road, it's better to hit the animal than swerve off the road. Right. And most of the time that's true. But I looked at her and I said, don't do it if it's a moose. Take your chances with the tree.
Yeah.
She's like, why is that? I was like, because the moose will get angry.
Yeah.
And then it'll fuck your shit up. You might survive hitting a deer or a bear or some shit like that. But a moose, even if you do survive the initial collision, which is unlikely, it will make sure you're not getting out of that car alive.
This is a real fucking statistic in Alaska too. There are more moose attacks than there are brown bear attacks on human beings. That's real shit. A moose will attack you more than a fucking grizzly bear.
Yep. Moose will attack grizzly bears.
Yes, moose will attack grizzly bears.
And win.
A grizzly bear will run from a moose.
And what's
you're
funny?
talking about a grizzly bear is the size of a compact sedan, and a moose is the size of a mid-sized sedan. They're huge.
I have seen grizzlies, Kodiak, I think specifically, peel the side off a metal garbage bin out behind a restaurant like it was a fucking can of tuna with its bare goddamn claws and raw strength, and they will still choose not to fight a moose if they have a choice.
Yes. Yes, Kodiak bears get like 10 feet tall. They're fucking huge. Like, no, I would rather take my chance with a fucking bear than a moose, because that moose will trample you and then come back and trample you again. They will stomp you until they know you're dead. At least
your mic's gone a little muffled.
If it thinks you're no longer a threat, it'll leave you alone.
Your mic is muffled.
Oh, is it? Shit. Is that working better?
No.
Hold on.
Well, here we are. He'll be back. In the meantime, don't fuck with the moose. That's kind of what I was thinking too. UA, he ate the thing. I don't know. That's probably true, but I think that has less to do with the turn of speed and more to do with the fact that they have too many knees. They got to get lined up. Try that again.
Is that better?
No, you're still pretty muffled, man. I don't know.
I don't know what's going on, dude.
I can hear you, so there's that, and I assume that they can hear you too. But it sounds a little bit like you covered your mic with your hand.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
There you go.
Oh, did that work?
Yeah.
Okay, that's really fucking weird. I have no idea. I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
What the fuck, StreamYards? I'm gonna just say StreamYards because it's 90% of the time it's StreamYards.
It could be. I don't know.
Maybe 60% of the time it's StreamYards. 40% of the time I'm an idiot. So.
Saying like loose wire covered by hand. I don't think he was covering his mic by his hand. It just sounded like that. You better. Yeah, they do have a lot of knees. It's like they're all knees from like the shoulders down.
Yes.
So hey, you know what? And if there is a creator out there, I bet that's why they have all those knees. It's a blessing for us to be able to run away. As long as you don't run in a straight line, because if you do that, you're fucked. But
Oh, I mean, I've seen videos of moose that have been hit by cars, and the moose gets up and walks away, and the car is just totaled. And the moose acts like whatever, whatever. I mean, we're not saying that moose are indestructible, but that's not an animal you want to screw with.
No, they're not. But like some other big mean bastards, if you go to shoot one, you'd better not miss the brain.
No,
the heart. You
better bring a hefty
and actually
fucking round.
Their hearts are very strong, so if you don't destroy the heart when you shoot it, it will die, but it'll keep pumping until after it kills you. So generally stay away from the moose, the meese.
Yeah, stay away from the meese.
It's like all of the aggression that Canadians in general, and I'm not talking about their policies or their fucking shitty government or anything like that, but just Canadians have this reputation for being very polite, very friendly, right? It's like all of that aggression that they must feel somehow got transferred onto the fucking moose. So like it's bearing the aggression of an entire nation, each one of these things.
I mean, it is one of the it is quite possibly the most territorial animal on on the North American continent.
Mhm.
Seriously, it is more territorial than a bear. Black bear, brown bears. It is a massively territorial animal. And if there are babies nearby, oh, for fuck's sake, you better get away from that fucking sow.
Right. Yui, that's a good question. Honey badger don't give a fuck. So honey badger probably would take on a moose. I don't know if it would win though, because that thick skin might prevent like predators and shit from biting through that. But kinetic energy is kinetic energy, and if it gets fucking stomped to death,
Yeah, badgers and wolverines are extremely aggressive too. I don't know if they'd mess with a moose because a moose is so big compared to them.
I've heard of wolverines taking them on, but I don't know anybody who stuck around to witness the end of that conflict, so I don't know who would win.
I mean, we got we got moose here in Colorado, up in the mountains and stuff. We got badgers, here in Colorado and stuff. I mean, it's very, very common to. I mean, we got big animals here. They got even bigger animals in Alaska, and Canada and stuff like that. I mean, but Colorado, Wyoming, Montana. You got, barring Australia being probably one of the most dangerous places on the planet for things trying to kill you. North America, does a pretty good job.
But what's funny about that is Australians think that we're nuts for living where we do because of all our crazy, dangerous wildlife, which we take for granted.
Yes, and vice versa.
Yeah, so I'd imagine that's probably just a perspective thing and not so much that, our animals are more dangerous or whatever. Although objectively, Australia's animals are more dangerous. Just saying.
Yeah, I would maybe assume because, the majority of Australians don't venture too deep into the outback where most of the most dangerous animals are. Snakes, spiders, like, just everything in its mother's trying to kill you out there.
Everything's venomous out there. We only have 4 kinds of venomous snakes on fucking North American on the U.S. side of the North American continent anyway. I think they're down towards Central America. There's some other shit, but in the lower 48, there are only 4 kinds of venomous snakes. They're all easily recognizable. The only one that you might mistake for something else, like a black snake, is the water moccasin. And you trust me, it opens its mouth at you. You're not mistaking that fucker for anything else.
No.
So
then of course the diamondback rattlesnake. I mean, that thing identifies itself easily.
We've got a dozen different kinds of rattlers as well. But they're all rattlers. Like, they will all warn you before anything happens. The only one you really have to worry about is the green Mojave, because sometimes they just get pissy. They also have this really nasty dual action venom that'll kind of liquefy your spine. It's don't get bit by one of those. It's not fun.
No, don't get bit by one of those. I mean, we only have a handful of severely poisonous spiders, the black widow, brown recluse, be the top of the pyramid on that one. You're gonna know if you get bit by a black widow, but it's not going to kill you instantly. Usually it takes about 8 hours to kill an elderly person. Usually a healthy human being has a little bit longer than that, but I mean, it's not going to take that long to get help, right? A brown recluse, obviously it starts with necrotizing fasciitis. It eats your flesh.
Kind of
out.
Necrotizing fasciitis is actually a bacteria, but the venom that it injects has a similar effect. Yes,
that's what I mean. A similar effect. You get bit by a brown recluse. A lot of people don't know until you start getting that little bit of a deterioration around the spot. But I mean, doctors can treat that pretty easily, anymore. But yeah, I mean, we have our fair share, but no, Australia's wild, man. Don't go to Australia and don't go poking around Australia.
I mean, we have like cougars and brown bears and moose, and, wolves and wolverines and badgers. Well, their badgers really aren't that bad. As long as you leave them alone, they'll leave you alone.
Yep.
And we even have crocs and gators.
Yes.
So, like, I guess I could see from an outsider's perspective that, yeah, the United States could be considered fairly dangerous. I mean, we've got some of the largest birds on fucking Earth too.
Hmm.
And they're all like raptors. They're all predators.
Oh yeah.
The great horned owl, the golden eagle, the fucking California condor.
Bald eagle. I mean, we got peregrine falcons. We got hawks. We got
Peregrines and hawks are pretty small by comparison, but
they are small. I mean, but have you ever seen the claws on them motherfuckers?
yeah,
They'll pick up. They'll go after a small dog, even some small children. They'll go for it.
I've seen them go after small children. They usually fail because, again, falcons and hawks are typically small. Eagles,
Yeah.
on the other hand, not so much.
Golden eagle, bald eagle can have a 6-foot wingspan easily. Same with the great horned owl.
Golden eagles are actually bigger than bald eagles.
They are bigger, yes.
Significantly. Yeah, they're huge. Bald eagles are not small birds either, and they can and will carry off sheep and pets. And if in the case of small children, like 3-4 years old kind of thing, but they will carry them off. And so you don't want to, like, I had a problem when one of my kids was like really young. We're talking like 6 months to a year and a half old, in that range. We lived in this place, and in that place, the local authorities had decided to wipe out all the coyotes because they're like, oh, they're getting to be too much, right? So they overkilled on the coyote population. The immediate ecological response to that was that the rabbit population exploded. And what comes with rabbits? Viruses.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And there weren't enough natural predators to hold them off. Well, so this bald eagle's passing by, and he's like, oh, hey, look at all this free food just hanging out in these fields here. There's tons of these things here, and I don't see anything else picking them off. So he set up shop in a tree about half a block from my fucking house, where he stayed for a year. Just picking off rabbits, people's cats. I think there was a dog that went missing at one point. I kept my kid inside the entire time.
Well, when I was in Germany, the rabbit population would get really out of control really bad. And they would get like this, they would get almost like this virus that it's like mange on a cat. Like it starts eating their flesh, and they start losing their hair, and their eyeballs rot away. I mean, it's bad. So yeah, and they, rabbits and rodents get really bad viruses, and wolves and coyotes are really good, and even keeping them at bay, and even the the raptors, all the raptors that we have in the U.S. are good at that, because I mean, rodents are very good at getting viruses, and that'll make people sick. It's why you don't want rats in your house. It's why you don't want mice running around your house. You'll get sick from, kids get sick, elderly people get sick from the viruses and just the dirtiness. So, but yeah, it's crazy shit.
Yeah. Super, super fun. They have all kinds of fun stuff. They're prone to rabies. They're prone to like hantavirus. All of which is super infectious.
Yes.
It's just
Wet
rabbits
markets.
rabbits are not great to have around in numbers, especially not. I mean, like, pets are one thing, but wild rabbits, you don't really want a huge population of them around, because they don't just carry the viruses, they also leave it in their shit, which then infects the fucking plant life. It doesn't infect it because obviously plants and animals, they don't swap viruses, but it gets fucking everywhere.
Yeah, it's having a pet's one thing, but yeah, wild rodents and stuff, and I would say that rabbits, they may not be, they're not rodents, but they share a very.
They are rodents, actually. Yeah.
Are they really?
Yes.
Okay, because I know squirrels are rodents, and chipmunks and stuff like that. I didn't know the rabbits.
Rodentia is a phylum. It's pretty broad. It wasn't that long ago that before they got their own classification, skunks were considered rodents too.
I would believe that, yeah.
Yeah, but they have their own like classification now. They're somewhere between rodents and like cats or bears or something. I don't know. but they did change the classification on that. But rabbits are absolutely rodents.
Well, I mean, fuck. Muskrats. I mean, because
Mhm.
muskrats and stuff like that have been seen in New York City. They're like, oh my god, it's the biggest rat I've ever seen. I'm like, well, it's not a rat, but it is a rodent, and it's a big ass rodent. Because there's that video of that one muskrat in New York City just sitting there chilling on the
Yeah.
sidewalk, and the thing is the size of a small dog.
Yeah. Less vermin. I mean, yeah, vermin is another word for them, but in
vermin,
this case, I'm talking about like the actual classification, rodentia, which one of the easily identifying things about rodents is their prominent teeth. Like the front teeth, the lower and the top are, kind
Yes.
of, they're shaped like spades, and they're extremely sharp, and they grow pretty long. And you'll find that almost every rodent species, including rabbits. Rats have it, muskrats, beavers,
Chipmunks,
yeah.
squirrels. I mean, squirrels get the same kind of bad viruses that affect other rodents. Their eyes will fall out. I mean, they'll become rabid. Yeah.
Bats are not rodents, but they often are prey to the same shit.
Mhm.
One fun thing about bats, which I found out when we found out that we had a nest of them, a couple of hundred of them sitting in this fucking barn out in our backyard. 1 in 10 bats carries the rabies virus. They may not be affected by it. They may just be a carrier, but 1 in 10 bats in the wild carries the virus at the very least.
And they also transfer that to their guano.
Mhm.
So it's
Super fun. And they used to get into the house. So
having a lot of bat droppings in a house is you're going to be prone to a lot of illnesses.
Man, we used to have this problem. This was in Colorado, by the way. We used to have this problem with these same bats. They would get into the house. They'd come in through the unfinished walls in the basement, and they'd find their way in from outside, and that's where they enter in. And they would not only bring the possibility of like horrific disease with them, as we know, but number one, you just don't want to get bit by them, whether they're infected or not, because they've got these nasty little fucking knives for teeth. It's just, it's not good. But they will also bring parasites in with them, like bed bugs and ticks, which then get released into your living area. And if anybody here has had bed bugs, and you understand how difficult it is to get them out once they're in.
Oh, you have to. I mean, you might as well just start throwing shit out.
No, I found a way. To do it.
Have you?
I went down to Ace Hardware, and I was looking for something because I've done some research on this. Bed bugs. I waged a war against the bed bugs in my neighborhood. A war which I won at some cost, but I did win. And so one of the first things you do in war is to learn about your enemy, to know your enemy, right?
Yeah,
so I
fair.
researched a bunch of stuff about weaknesses and all that, and they don't have a lot. Diatomaceous earth is one of the most effective things to use against them, because it by itself, all it is like the powdered fossilizations of like single cell and double cell animals from like the Pleistocene or whatever.
Yeah.
It feels like the finest grain of sand, but to something that is that small and has a very hard carapace on it, what it is like razors that compromises the protective hull of them, which allows poisons and various other things to get introduced into them and no longer, protected or scratched up. So that's a pretty effective way of, introducing poisons in their system. But I found this stuff at Ace Hardware that I have never found anywhere else. It comes in a lavender can, and it's got this really cute little logo of a drawing of a person sleeping with the moon over their head. And it's called Good Night. And it is some of the most toxic fucking pesticide I have ever been exposed to in my life. It's amazing stuff. So what you do is you go in, you spray everywhere that they might be. Obviously, you want to take care of your mattress, your furniture, and all that stuff. Anywhere where there's any kind of like wood, any kind of finished things like that. Anywhere they might just be getting in and out from, the corners of the rooms and all that stuff, the windowsills, all that stuff. You want to get all of this stuff good and coated on it. You want to be wearing something that will allow you to breathe while you're in the room doing this, because you do not want to breathe this shit. It will set your lungs on fire. And
Jesus.
and then you leave it and you let it sit. You seal up that room and you walk the fuck away for 24 hours. I usually go 72 just to be safe, but at least 24 hours, and you let that shit sit, because it'll eventually break itself down and you can go back in there and be totally okay. But in that 24 hours, no, it'll fuck you up too. I used that one time in a room that was infected by bed bugs. I didn't see so much as a spider in there for a year. It killed everything. It killed
Good
their
God.
eggs. It killed them. It's like it just fucking annihilated them all. Oh
Holy
man.
shit.
Good
That's
stuff.
wild.
And I got it for like $12.95 at Ace Hardware. I'm pretty sure it's illegal now.
Probably.
Oh, good stuff.
Good God.
I didn't
Stuff.
die. No, but they all died. They all died. Because the problem with bed bugs is that they have very short life cycles, right? So what they'll do is they're born, and within a few hours they're ready to lay a clutch of eggs. And they continue to lay eggs every so often through the period of their lives. And they're, and when we're talking eggs, we're talking hundreds of eggs at a time. And they live for about 3 days, give or take. So at the end of that 3 days, when their lifespan's up, they've laid, say, 3-4 clutches of hundreds of fucking eggs apiece. The first clutch is already hatched and laid 2 clutches of its own. The second clutch is already hatched and laid 1 clutch. The third one is just about to hatch. These guys are dying off. And so these generations continue exponentially. So if you don't kill the fucking eggs too, it doesn't matter how many of the fucking adults you kill.
Well, yeah, it's like, I mean, they're like fleas for humans. I mean, fleas. I mean, if you don't kill the eggs off on an animal, man, I mean, you're screwed.
Yeah, it's some brutal shit.
But I like Zillage's comment, but it's like it just it's like, but did you die? No,
Yeah.
you didn't die, did you? It's like,
No, I did not. I won that battle. I Nagasaki'd those bitches.
oh God. What'd you do? Just see Oppenheimer?
No, I haven't actually.
Oh my God! Did you hear the complaints about Oppenheimer and the fact that there are not more minorities in it?
I did. I saw that and I was like, oh, that's stupid. Moving on.
I was
I
like,
thought there were a lot of Japanese people in it for a minute.
I was just gonna say, I'm like, what did you want? More Japanese people in it?
I was like, there was a second bomb, right?
Like, you insensitive tool bags. Like, are you guys retarded? The answer is yes. Yes, they're retarded.
Yeah. So
We need more Japanese people.
But I don't know. Now that I've gone on a rant about murdering entire fucking generations of insects, hey, they never bothered me again. It got rid of them, and I didn't have to throw out my fucking mattress.
I've never had an issue with bed bugs, but I know people who have like moved, who have like had like a storage unit or something, or moved into an apartment, and all of a
You ever
sudden
seen a bite?
I just know that like they bite you in the middle of the night, and there'll be like little blood spots all over your mat, all over your sheets, and that's how you know that you have them.
No, you know by the bites, because they start out looking like tiny little mosquito bites, right? But if you touch them in any way, if you itch, they itch, they do. And if you scratch them in any way, all that does is inflame them. You end up with these fucking bright red inflammation like sacs on your skin that are like the size of a fist. And they burn when you touch them, but they don't ever stop itching.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's fucking brutal. Yeah.
No, I've never experienced that.
Yeah, it's not fun. That's you'd know if you had bed bug bites. There's no mistaking them for anything else. So
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, like mosquito bites, but worse. So Carrie says update on the fire. Stopped it forward on a back road. It's not out, but it's not progressing in your direction. Good to hear, buddy. Thank you for letting us know. But I think we will probably call it here. It's been good discussion. I think a lot of fun and all that stuff. But both Brian and I have other things to get ready for this evening, and I would like to eat at some point in between there. So I'm going to do that.
I feel you on that one, man. I can't expect the family to, because they're like, oh, do you have a break in between? I'm like, yeah, I can eat then. So it's like,
They do know that this is what you do, right?
not until recently. They didn't really pay attention.
No, fair enough. Fair enough. I will try to be less vulgar for your fan. Oh, what the fuck am I saying? No, I won't.
Oh no, God, no. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Like they don't watch what I do. They just, they don't watch anything of what I do. And they're like, you really sit there for like 2-3 hours, and I'm like, and just talk to people. I'm like, yeah, we review stuff, movies, television, talk about pop culture. Yeah, it's like, we had no idea. It's like, well, I'm sure you don't. Like, none of you guys really hover around the internet, so I'm not surprised.
Yeah. So, why don't you tell people where they can find you before we go?
Well, I'm going to be on Vets Talking later, Skinamax Saturday, and then of course tomorrow we got Star Trek Engage. Yes, I said it like that on purpose because there's going to be a lot of gay jokes, especially when you get like there's going to be like 6 of us.
Yeah,
it's going to get a little rowdy. We're going to be doing Star Trek the original series. We're going to start with the Birdcage, and then of course
the Cage. The Birdcage is a movie about gay dudes.
Sorry, that was unintentional.
It's the second time you've said that on air.
It was probably subconsciously though. The Cage, and then it goes into the Man Trap, right? That's the second one.
Yeah, which I realize doesn't make it sound less gay.
No, it doesn't.
So it is what it is, I guess.
Oh God.
But yes, that's what we'll be doing tomorrow.
The Birdcage.
Come on by. Hopefully, let's find out. We just got done with season 3 of Picard. Let's see if Paramount cares as much about the original series if we get taken down immediately after the show is over.
I know. Within like 20 fucking minutes. That'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. So if that continues to be the trend, though, and you guys are at all interested in watching those, if you don't find it on either of our channels or Horny Alf's, or I think Devil Made Me Do It's going to be streaming to his channel as well.
Yep.
After the show is over, give it 48 hours. It should be back up. So we'll because we got to fight the disputes on that. So
yeah, they tack it on pretty quickly.
Yeah. So, but you're gonna be on Vets Talking tonight?
Yes, I am gonna be on Vets Talking tonight. That starts at 8 p.m. Mountain Time, 10 p.m. Eastern. Definitely still getting used to the time change. So that's kind of what's screwing with me the most. Is the time change itself, because you used to be like 10 p.m. So I'm like, oh yeah, it's 10 p.m. whatever. But now it's like 8 p.m. So, and that's when all my shows used to start was 8 p.m. Eastern. So it just, I'm just out of whack with the time right now.
Yeah, you're gonna have to get used to that.
Yeah,
it's one of those things that it'll fuck you up for a while, but you will get used to it, and then you'll be like, why are these people on the East Coast demanding I do things on their fucking time schedule? Fuck them.
I know, right?
So yeah, that about covers it for a lot of my stuff too. We will be doing, like he said, Star Trek Engage tomorrow with a bunch of nerds, and I believe Kat will be, the Hijabi Gamer will be joining us for the time being anyway, from here on out. She is looking forward to it and has no idea the kind of gayness she's walking into. So this will be fun. And then obviously I'll be back next week with Lawrence Knight and Knowing Without You for Abyssal Musings Friday night, and then back here again for Screaming Into the Void on Saturdays. Hopefully it will be less busy for everybody that day, and we'll have more of a panel up here. But I think today Brian and I carried the show pretty well. So
well, we might have done this around the block a few times, just run our own shows. What do you, whatever.
Yeah. So keep an eye out. Oh, I'd also like to plug that I just put out a full-on video. It's not like a video. It's clipped from last week's episode of SITV, but I am attempting to learn to edit and put together stuff. So I figured that was probably the safest way to do it, was with content that I already have. And so I altered the SITV intro a little bit to say clips on it, and then I put a stinger on the end of that with a little bit of music and all that. So we're going to see how well that does. And I'll probably likely just be using those for practice. Maybe down the road we might be looking at some real videos at some point, but we're not there yet. So, and that said, I believe we're looking at going live online as Exile tonight. Right now it says 8:35 p.m. my time. That may be subject to change, so don't shoot the fucking messenger. But but if it yeah, keep an eye out for that. She's got it up and ready to go. So yeah, cheap downloadable programs. That's what I'm using.
Is in free?
No, actually, the program I'm using is not free, which I probably should look into.
Something like that. The one that I use is free. It's called OpenShot.
Yeah, the one I've got. Hold on, just a second. I'll tell you exactly what it is. It's Mini Tool Movie Maker.
Never heard of it. Then again, I never heard of OpenShot video editor until Gary Neurotic. He said that he was using it for a long time because it's free.
Yeah, so I might look into that. Like I said, but we're just experimenting with some things, and I'm trying to see what I can do to just get better at this YouTube thing. So. That said, I think that about covers it for today, man. Appreciate you showing up and being here for this.
Yeah, of course.
I will catch you as much as possible on Vets Talking until I have to go produce for another channel. So that'll as I do most Saturdays. Also, you guys, Caucasian Sasquatch is a pretty good friend of the channel. I believe he's live currently right now. So if you don't have anything else to do, go check him out. He's always a hoot, and I believe he's doing his Chilling with Sasquatch stream, which are always like some weird shit. So yeah, that said, thank you all for coming. Appreciate each and every one of you. Have a great night, and remember, it could always be worse. It could be raining flaming cobras.
Well, I say every day it's a getting closer to taking a bath.